Alright, what's going on, Discord fam? Welcome back to Only Subs. We're doing hundreds of percent every single day. Although this week has been a little rough. Like you can see the chart right now with SPX here, very similar to SPY. We had 3 Black Crow candle, which is a very bearish indicator on increasing volume. And again, keep in mind, guys, this is a weekly time frame. So this is already indicative, like you've already broken through a few of these trend lines that I've had here. So it's already looking very bearish, and there was something that came in last week, a few days ago, like Thursday or something, and it was in the flow where the whales, there was one in particular, a few of them, a bunch together, that was targeting 4610 for October puts. So that was $15 million worth of premium. So that was sort of unusual to me and very indicative of either that could have been a sign of something to come or maybe hedging. But a size like that targeting all the way down here in directional bet on break of trend signifies to me that there could be anticipation of some sort of big time downside. So why 4610? And again, on SPY this is like 470. Okay, I'll show you SPY chart here. Right now it's trading at 532. That's the equivalent of SPY coming down to 470. Okay, that's this macro trend all the way down here, a very key demand area that has not been tested. And this is the high from January of 2022. So these whales are, and again, the reason why a lot of these bets are coming in is probably because of fears of global recession. We have a lot of earnings that have not been doing too well this past few weeks. And we're currently, again, just looking at a technical standpoint, we've broken multiple trends already, and now it's just looking pretty bleak. We had NFP, the jobs, all of that data did not come out positive either. And again, FOMC, I know the interest rate potential cut for September is there, but that's only gonna have, that's only gonna impact the market so much, right? Because when you have all of this other data, and of course the war, right, with Iran and Israel, that's a lot of that stuff is going on. That there could be some retaliation from Iran this coming Monday, based off of the news I posted for you guys in Discord. So with all of that stuff happening, and you had I'm going to talk about NVIDIA and a couple other tickers. But yeah, there's a lot of bearish news coming out across the board. So right now with SPX, this is the macro, right? It's for October. Whales are, this would be a big time correction. We've been shooting straight up since, honestly, since like September of 2022, right? We've had this down period from January 2022, pretty much the whole year, and then we started catching a bounce around October-ish, September-ish, and then we started working our way back up, and now we've just been shooting straight up, guys. We've just been, on an uptrend. Everything's been great, and the big question was, when are we going to get the pullback? So this could be that major correction. There are some key levels to go through first, but this is what we're looking at based off of what the whales are targeting. 470 on SPY, 4610 on SPX. So let me just go into QQQ and SPY here. Currently, and again, this is a little bit more micro. Currently, SPY and QQQ had broken out of this downtrend. Like I've been pointing out to you guys on Friday, this was the key signal for longs to come step in, and maybe you catch a bounce. Where is that bounce gonna go to now? As of right now, we've got the breakout on SPY here. So you want to see SPY clear this 534 level, which is gonna be key, and then you have this golden pocket all the way up at 536. So 536 is going to be a very key level to get over, and then maybe Bold can have a shot at, trekking its way back up. Keep in mind the macro is still bearish, right? We're still, we had this big trend break, so don't be surprised that if there is a pullback, a retrace back up, it could be a retest, even go as high as this trend line here, right? For a SPY, that would be like 540s, 545. That was a number, a few days ago. SPY had to get over, but it failed, and then we just started pulling back. As for QQQ, before I get into QQQ, SPY, again, this is the bullish case I pointed out. Bearish case is obviously you want a bull trap here. This whole week has been a lot of tough price action with just fake outs left and right. And the reason why we're getting a lot of those fake outs, keep in mind, a lot of those stuff happens because of choppy markets, right? Once we started hitting these highs, and nobody knows where the high is, right, until you start seeing this pullback. But once we started hitting this high and then start pulling back, we started entering a period of a bit of uncertainty, right? We didn't know if the markets want to go up. We didn't know if the market want to break down. It was just kind of just going up and down, and then giving signals that, again, when you're looking at the chart, you take positions based off of the setups, right? Whether it's pattern, fair value gaps, and you take those types of positions and then they get faked out. And why does that happen? Because of the indecision price action in this chop, right? Yes, there was a down period, but however, when you have that first initial breakdown, you don't know if it's going to bounce back up. You could just think that this is just a pullback and it's going to continue up. That was the trend this entire time. So that's what happens when we get fake outs typically on when we're looking at a macro perspective, and then we go down to micro, we start to see potential fake outs happen just because of the direction. But now we have a direction. Since Thursday, Friday, we got a bit of a direction, and now we can firmly say that we are in a downtrend, right? Bit of a bearish downtrend here, outside of the chop that we were having throughout the past week and a half or so. So that's what we're looking at right now. We want to see a bull trap if we're still bearish. Most of my positions are, puts. I just have a NVIDIA hedge, which I'll talk about in a sec. But for SPY, I'm looking for SPY to come down to this 525 level. This is a very key demand area, 525 down all the way to 520. But you can see right here, there's a very big key, the golden pocket level with multiple levels of support here. So this is a very key level I want to target for this week, ideally. Otherwise, if not, then this could signify potential upside based off of the breakout. Very similar to SPY. QQQ had this breakout here, and if it, we have this macro golden pocket here. So for QQQ, clearing 450 and then 452 is going to be very key, and very similar to SPY, can start tracking its way back up all the way up to this trend line, which is pretty much like 460s. And for SPY, it's like, again, like I said, 545. So for downside, I know everybody is pretty bearish on the week. I moved the line. Everybody's pretty bearish on the week, but we want to see QQQ even come down to this 440 level golden pocket. 442, very big dark pool level to 440s. Very likely if this is a bull trap, right? So that's what you want on SPY and QQQ. As for futures, ES and NQ, from a macro perspective, I'm just going to talk about the macro on this. ES is under this golden pocket, this 5,400 level. Very key signal that this was a signal. Once this level broke, it was a signal for shorts to start shorting. And for QQ, I keep saying because the thing with ES, if you guys don't know, ES and NQ are pretty much tracking with SPX, SPY, and QQQ, right? NQ is for QQQ, ES is pretty much with SPY. So that's the futures version of those tickers. As simple as I can put it. But for NQ, it's still in this golden pocket here. So unless this breaks below this 18,460-ish level, we're still not, getting that confirmation like how we got on ES here. So that's what we're still waiting for. Maybe pre-market today. It's Sunday right now. Yeah, the pre-market is gonna open up around like 6 o'clock. So we're gonna see how price action starts to move. For VIX had this massive move up. I remember telling you guys 20 was that magic number, and this was a big trend line that was coming from way back somewhere, all the way back here, and it had that breakout, which we were waiting for a few weeks now, right? We were thinking back in like July or even June, had this, all the way back here in April, actually had a failed breakout, a test, but a failed, breakout. So then it had to, come a few months later, retest, and then ultimately got the breakout now. Now the thing with VIX is, it pretty much tested all the way at 30 here, caught a rejecting this golden pocket, and so now you want to see VIX. There was a lot, like almost $60 million worth of call flow coming in on Friday throughout the whole day. It was just pretty wild. But right now there was towards the end of the day, past the end of 2 hours or so on Friday, there was a lot of $20 calls coming in for a month or so out, and that, if there's in the money, it's obviously a very safe bet, but that could be a hedge, just because I feel like that you had this breakout on VIX, and now I feel like it wants to come down and test this $20 level again for a retest. We never had the retest. All right, I pull out the shorter time frame, just pure blast off right out of the breakout at 20. And so now it's had this rejection of the golden pocket. You had those $20 strike calls, potentially signifying hedging. Otherwise, there was a lot of call flow targeting as high as 40 to 60s, right? But this is what I think could be happening in the short term, just because, again, you saw SPY here break out, right? So that's signaling longs to go long, and then VIX maybe wanting to get a retest here. So come Monday, you could see a potential, reversal to the upside. Don't just be open-minded to these types of things, because you got to look at the chart and play the chart, right? I know there's fundamental stuff, there's a lot of data stuff that comes out that could influence the chart, but this is a setup here. And again, if it bull traps, then it bull traps, right? It's part of the game. But as of right now, this is what I think VIX is gonna do: come down to 20s, retest it, and maybe catch a bounce from there, and then ultimately SPY maybe come up to 540s and then break down again, right? Just creating another lower high, and then creating another lower low eventually in the future. But this is what I think could happen. Again, there is a lot of bearish news still with the war or whatever that's been happening, that could still signify pullback, bull trap on SPY. Let's move on to IWM here. So I took shorts on IWM, and that's because you had IWM here breaking this macro trend line here, and then you also had, the thing with IWM here, and I'm on the 4-hour chart, there was a lot of volume that came in here, and towards the end of the day, I pointed out to you guys that there was like $120 million worth of dark pool that came in around this 209 level. So that was signaling something, that we don't know the direction, right? Because it's dark pool. However, looking at the chart, if those were bullish bets, the $120 million dark pools, then yes, we could potentially reclaim this trend line here and start moving back up. 210s to then 213, 214 are going to be the key levels. However, if those are bearish bets, I'm thinking IWM is going to come down to as low as 200s. You have this key trend line here, which is a very big level, 204-ish, 205 level, that could get tested, right? Typically, you have a retracement back to the golden pocket, and that could get tested in my opinion. I think the likelihood of that happening is higher, but you can't ignore the volume here in this candle. If you pull up the daily here, like it's a doji, like there's a lot of indecision type of candles at the same time, but very significant amount of volume. But keep in mind the macro, the market is bearish, right? That's something you have to also keep in mind. Yes, technicals will say something, but you have to keep in mind the a lot of all the moving parts of the market, right? That can influence the direction in any given stock. So this is what I think is gonna happen. I'm still in puts. I think this is gonna come down first to 205. This is a very obvious key area here. 200 SMA down here. If you are gonna take a short, if you are on those 200s, maybe manage risk over here. Very, very good level to manage risk. Otherwise, it's gonna break down to as low as 200s. The 200-day is down here. And again, I think 200 is a very key psychological number, very key demand area down here that could get tested. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at on IWM. And then for Tesla here, it just had this massive just pullback here, right? We couldn't reclaim this macro trend line, which was coming from way back. This was the when it had this big breakout, the full flag breakout. Basically, didn't get much of a follow through, and now it's back under. So what I think with Tesla is gonna happen right now is, again, just maybe if the market does catch a bit of a bounce, you're gonna probably test 212, maybe even 220s. But if there is to be a pullback, 200 is very key level here. There's a big dark pool level at 198-ish. But 200 is very likely if there is going to be a pullback further. Again, very key psychological round number on Tesla. But, we haven't had any bounce on Tesla. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe there we do get a bit of a bounce. If the market is weak, like I said, it's going to continue to pull back here. Before I get into Bitcoin is, again, you remember the line in the sand, guys? It did not break below it, and then we thought this was going to be the breakout, but lo and behold, now it's pulling back yet again and might test the bottom of this bull flag. That's the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is actually this golden pocket. If Bitcoin breaks below 50,000, Bitcoin could actually pull back. And again, these are your levels down at 46,000, down all the way to like 40,000, right? Psychological round number. But that's what you're looking at on Bitcoin, because you've had this failed bull flag. It's still in the setup, yes. So we're not completely saying that this is gonna break down, but the setup is still there. Just gotta be patient for the breakout. When it does happen, that could happen maybe after the election or who knows what. But that's what we're looking at on that pattern here. For coin was following pretty much Bitcoin, failed breakout, was tracking this pennant since a month now, and just couldn't do it. It just basically rejected earnings. It had earnings a few days ago, and even I believe they did beat on everything, but with the overall market, Bitcoin being pretty weak, it's just it's not gonna do its thing. Ultimately, the market's gonna follow, what the stocks are gonna follow what the market does. So Nvidia here is what we're also in puts, right? So with Nvidia, we want to see it's in this falling wedge here. So for Nvidia, we want to see a break of this $100 level, right? This 101 level, which would basically break below this key trend line here, which is very big level actually, which comes back all the way back there. But if that breaks, I can see Nvidia coming down to as low as 90. But obviously it has to clear some very key levels. This 98 level, 99.98 level, is going to be very key. Macro golden pocket and a micro golden pocket sitting right there. If NVIDIA breaks that, then 95-ish to 90 pretty much on the table. Although NVIDIA on Friday was holding the trend pretty well, even though when SPY and the market was pulling back, NVIDIA was holding its own. Bulls were defending very well, and I actually did take a hedge on it because it just when stocks are showing relative strength when market is going down, then it could signify that there is strength in the stock and that it could maybe bounce if SPY and QQQ does catch a bounce, right? So like going back to the market catching that relief bounce, you could see NVIDIA catch a bounce here, right? You got to be open to these types of things, right? So NVIDIA could break out of this 108 level here and then possibly test the top of this wedge here. This is a bullish pattern, right? The falling wedge. So if it breaks out of this, 120s is on the table, 115, 120. You cannot just be completely blinded by, oh yeah, we're in a bearish market, whatever, right? But ultimately you never know what can happen. There was some bearish news on NVIDIA, and I believe it was, if I could just pull it up here really quickly, the news was that NVIDIA's new AI chip delayed due to design flaws. So NVIDIA had a bit of a delay in its AI chips. Bearish news that could pull NVIDIA back down, breaking this level here, and then ultimately testing these low, upper 90 levels. So that's what you're looking at on NVIDIA, right? You got to look out for these certain levels here. But as of right now, I think maybe it could break down just because of the news. But if market catches a bounce, maybe this is going to start to show relative weakness because of that news. So that's also a possibility. Microsoft here broke down from this key trend line here. So Microsoft under the golden pocket, macro trend line broken. Currently testing this 405 level here, 200-day. I think this is a big level that Microsoft caught. I think it'll catch a bounce here. If market is continuously going to be weak, then it's going to pull back down to like 400s. Apple had earnings recently. Unfortunately, with Apple, just pretty much wrecked longs and shorts. We were short on it. But unfortunately, it was pushing up all throughout Friday, which was pretty crazy. But ultimately, it had a bull trap, right? There was this bit of a cup and handle breakout here, and bulls could not push, they had this full, validated breakout, but bears capitalized, pulled Apple back, and actually looks bearish now, right? The reason why it looks bearish, you had a false breakout. I always like to say that and there's nothing more bearish than a failed bullish move, okay? So now that NVIDIA is back down here, golden pocket is here. This 217 level is going to be very key for Apple to pretty much hold for bulls. Otherwise, Apple is going to come down to as low as 213 to 210 level. It's going to be very key levels that's going to come next. And ultimately this 205 level. If Apple pulls back, market's going to, this is a very big ticker, market, Apple being a very big a weight in the NASDAQ. So this could pull tech down pretty drastically if Apple is supposed to pull back here. So it does look bearish. I think it's going to pull back. 217 is a level 2 clear. And yeah, that's what you got to look out for. LLY has earnings coming up. I pointed this to you guys in the trade setups. So for this, the earnings is on Thursday pre-market. I think it looks very good. It was holding up very nicely on last Friday. Like it was just pushing up. And I think that just could be because of the earnings anticipation. Like we look at the extended hours, it's been holding up pretty well. So, you have this macro trend line. And I think with the relative strength that it's been having, it could catch a bit of a run up. going into earnings. Even test as high as 830s to 840s. But if you are going to play this, and I mentioned this in the trade setups for you guys, your risk is going to be a break of this trend line. Earnings will be the catalyst to either validate that this macro trend is going to hold, or it's going to break down, very similar to how Microsoft did. If you notice, Microsoft earnings was back in the July 30th. And what did it do? I was doing this funny business here, went under on earnings, it shot up, but then boom, broke down. So LLY has a very similar setup where it's showing that, hey, maybe we're going to hold this trend line, but then earnings comes out and then it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go up, but then break down again. Never know, right? It's a possibility. Ultimately going to depend on the market. Again, you cannot ignore the market, because you could have great earnings, have a gap up day, and break down again. So always be open-minded to that. And that'll be all, guys. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you have any questions, I'll be in the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, link is in the description.